Shall we begin? Yes. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
The Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women. Blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Good evening, sisters.
Good evening, Father.
So for this month, we take the theme of formation for the mission. We see from the Rule of Life, number 28 to 35. Yeah. So we are going to talk about an important thing, which is formation. And by the end of the talk, we will all realize that everybody needs formation, not just these sisters. Me need formation, and you all need formation. We are all in an ongoing formation. We will also talk about it today. And I want to begin this talk with a biblical verse from the letter of St. Paul to the Philippians, chapter 1, verse 6. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. My dear sisters, the first point, while I read this passage, I would like to tell you the true formator is Jesus himself. He is the true formator. Of course, we are having different stages of formation. As I said, even today, all of us are under formation. But for all this formation, Jesus is the formator. Jesus is the formator. And then we have something from the Holy Spirit himself formed the spirit of Claudine by his divine inspirations. So we all believe that Mother Claudine was inspired by the Holy Spirit. Having found a loyal heart, he supplied all that she lacked. It's true. As a person, as a human person, she was lacking a lot. And here we read, it is the Holy Spirit who was supplying all that she lacked with regard to education, and rendered her, who was nothing in the eyes of the world, capable of great things. Holy Spirit can do great things in our formation. And from this we read, even Mother Claudine needed that education which was given to her by the Holy Spirit. From which I would like to tell you, Holy Spirit is the agent of inspiration and transformation in the journey of formation. First of all, I told you, it is Jesus who is the real formator. And why we need this formation? Formation for transformation. So, Holy Spirit is the agent of transformation. The second point we derive from this reading. And straight away we go to Rule of Life, number 28. Number 28 says, we, the sisters of the cross, are called to welcome the cross of Christ as a way of truth. So our formation begins with welcoming the cross of Christ. Welcoming the cross of Christ, what for? To understand that He is the way of truth, liberation, and of life for ourselves, for the congregation, and for the world. So we are educated as we are in formation at all stages to welcome the cross of Christ. You are all sisters of the cross, and these formies, in a short while, they are also going to be sisters of the cross, and we are asked to welcome the cross of Christ so that we can obtain the total liberation, or also understand how Jesus is everything for us. The Institute proposes to the sisters the means for their interior growth. Formation helps us for interior growth in the accomplishment of their mission. We are happy to read that this formation is for mission. Formation is not for mere formal education. Formation is for mission. From beginning, the first stage, which we call as pre-novitiate, until the day we complete our journey in this formation, we are formed for mission. Mission in the sense Jesus has a purpose why he has called us. Jesus has a purpose to send us out, to send us away, to send us to the streets, to send us to the people. So our formation is for mission, which means our formation has a purpose. And so this internal growth and external growth. In another term, internal formation and external formation has to be an integrated formation. Both are very important. We do not aim at merely internal growth. We also see to it that both this take place, but at the same time, we call this formation as an integrated formation. Number 1 says in Rule of Life 28, formation has for its end to help the sisters to become disciples of Christ, who will be real apostolic laborers. That's what I was explaining now. We have a purpose why we are in formation. The purpose is we should be sent out for mission. When Jesus sends out for mission, we need to start. We need to go out. And we are called as apostolic laborers. You know, apostle means one who is sent. So we are not mere physical laborers or the worldly laborers. We are apostolic laborers. That means Christ is calling us basically to be with him, and then also to be sent out for his mission, to do his mission. The purpose of all our formation is to make us true disciples of Christ. So formation, discipleship goes together. Formation should make us disciples of Christ, which is explained in number 1. And then 28, number 2 says, the formation of a sister of the cross, is to train her to put on the same sentiments and attitudes of Jesus Christ, the servant who was poor and humble, but who in full freedom gave up his life on the cross in order to save humanity. Within bracket, I'm saying this is Christ-centered formation. This formation should help us to internally develop the attitudes of Christ, the sentiments of Christ. That's why we call this formation as Christ-centered formation. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of availabilities. There are also lots and lots of education given to us, but everything should center on Christ. This formation has to be really Christ-centered formation. Number 3, each sister profoundly captivated by the person of Christ. Again, you see, the whole number 28 talks about how we can become disciples of Christ, how we can be captivated by Christ, how we can acquire the sentiments of Christ, the attitudes of Christ. And that's why from number 28, I call this formation as Christ-centered formation. We will continue to read 3. Person of Christ becomes gradually capable of interiorizing and unifying her life in the community and in the church to be at the service of her contemporaries. First of all, you see, you are a person for the community and you are a person for the church. At the same time, you are meant to be at the service of your contemporaries, of the people who are living outside, particularly the poor who are with us. we need to be servants and we need to be servers. And Christ did that when he formed the disciples, and today also he needs us, and that's why he forms us to be his disciples and to be his apostolic laborers. Number 29, general orientations for the initial formation, where we see different stages of formation in a single journey as holistic formation. Of course, now we will see where does it begin and where does it end. Initial formation. Of course, all those who are here as formees have already passed one stage of initial formation. We will read from here. First of all, initial formation comprises of a period of preparation which is pre-novitiate. Pre-novitiate. The second one, a period of active initiation into the essential requirements of apostolic religious life in the congregation, novitiate. My dear sisters, we will see all this one by one as it's explained in the rule of life. So I'm just reading what is given as general orientations. And then a period of temporary vows which prepares for a permanent integration into the congregation, which we call as juniorate. So this is not just the three we are going to see. There are also other stages which we will study in detail or which we will listen in detail. 29 says, first of all, initial formation, which I explained about pre-novitiate, and then novitiate, then juniorate. Now we go to 29.2. The spiritual experience to be lived during the initial formation aims at preparing sisters for an apostolic life. Mission, apostolic life. Both are synonymous. So, apostolic life that you live in your religious communities. You are all apostles, and the ministry you are going to do is an apostolic ministry. And that's why this life, this religious life, is called as apostolic life in the midst of the world. You see, apostolic oriented formation is the formation of Jesus. Jesus formed his disciples so that they can be sent out. They can be sent to the people. And where they have to go, Jesus had a clear understanding or a clear purpose why they were in formation and why they needed that formation. So apostolic oriented formation is the formation of Jesus. For that we seek to form disciples capable of contemplating the Father at work in the world, strongly attached to the person of Jesus Christ and to his mission. You see, the whole formation, whether it's initial formation or different stages of formation, that should help us to attach ourselves to Christ, and then we should also emerge as the missionary workers of Jesus, docile to the Spirit who leads them unto configuration with Christ, who delivered himself for us. So, configuration of Christ. See, there are a lot of terms used here. First of all, we talked about Jesus is the formator. And then I said the Holy Spirit is the agent of transformation. And we also saw that it is an apostolic formation. Now, what we see here is the configuration of Christ. We have to become another Christ in all these stages of formation or years of formation. 29.3, formation introduced candidates to the charism, source spiritualities, which are Ignatian and Salesian, unto the mission of the congregation. All this is introduced at the very beginning of our formation. So you are already introduced, all of you, including the formees, you are all introduced to your charism, and then also the two spiritualities, and then to the mission of the congregation. Why we need to reflect all this? Why we need to study this again and again? We should never forget why we are called. We should never forget why we are here. We should never forget why we have become religious nuns or the sisters of the cross. And this is what is explained. We have known what is our charism. We have been introduced to our spiritualities. And of course, we have also been told what is the mission of this congregation. It is an initiation into a life of contemplation in action. There are two things. One is contemplation, another one in action. So this contemplation, the period of contemplation, should help us for our future action. We are not going to spend the whole life in contemplation. But every time we need contemplation, and that contemplation will help us for our ministry outside, for our ministry at the exterior world, to the society where we go every day to serve. And this contemplation in action, a beautiful spirituality that you have got, it is not just an action, it is not mere contemplation, it is contemplation in action. The spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius of Loyola are used as pedagogical means for formation. Definitely, you have two spiritualities, as we have just seen. One is of St. Ignatius of Loyola, and another one is Francis de Sales. So Jesuit spirituality and Salesian spirituality. And these two spiritualities should help us to have our own spirituality as sisters of the cross. Spiritual accompaniment is important for growth in interior freedom and personal responsibility, for the reviewing of life and prayer, in order to learn to lead one's life in docility to the Holy Spirit. In docility to the Holy Spirit. Where Spirit leads you, you have to go. What Spirit tells you, you have to do. That is what we mean as a docility to the Holy Spirit. We should be docile. We should be always prepared. We should be open to the acts of the Spirit. We cannot have our own agenda. We cannot have our own plans. And we cannot even decide our own mission. Where Spirit takes us, we have to go. What Spirit tells us, we have to do. And that docility, in another term, obedience to the Holy Spirit. Obedience to the Holy Spirit. Formies and all those who are already in this religious life as sisters of the cross, we need to be obedient till the end to the Holy Spirit. Whatever Holy Spirit tells us, we have to do. And we cannot act as religious persons, as apostolic laborers. We cannot act against the Holy Spirit. And that's why second time we have this word that to lead one's life in docility to the Holy Spirit. And that's why every day we do this meditation in order to have a concrete, not only inspiration, also to choose and to know what we should do and what we should not do. Discernment. Discernment. Docility to the Holy Spirit. And discernment is not when you do the retreat. Discernment is an everyday activity. And that's why we say that we should always be open to the Holy Spirit. 29.3. Periods of experience are proposed during the pre-novitiate and novitiate. They are means whereby the candidate can deepen her life of prayer and her attachment to Jesus Christ. You see, I told you, it's Jesus-centered formation. Jesus-centered formation. I told you we should become the disciples of Christ. That's why we need this formation. That's why all of us are still in formation. We should attach ourselves to Jesus Christ. Whatever program we have in the novitiate or in the pre-novitiate, whatever we do in the novitiate should help us to come closer and closer to Jesus. Because He wants us. I told you, He is the formator. We have to go to Him. And all other responsible persons should help us to go closer to Jesus. to go closer to Jesus and to learn from him. They also permit her to discover certain aspects of poverty and a life of work. All this, my dear sisters, have been introduced to all of you, and now to all these sisters who are still in the novitiate. They contribute to better knowledge of self and of others, to the formation of character and the development of her personality. Definitely, all this should take place, and all this takes place gradually and naturally. And that's why when I introduced this talk, I said internal growth, external growth. Internal growth I understand as our spirituality, growth in our spirituality. External growth, growth in character, growth in personality. So this internal and external growth has to take place, and that should be a balanced formation, and I told you it is an integrated formation. 29.4. At the initial stage, the reception and the formation of the candidates as also their progressive integration into the apostolic body are according to the principles and means defined in the complementary rules. You know that. And what is set in the complementary rules, you know for certain. And what is very important now, the candidates as also their progressive integration into the apostolic body. Apostolic body, one is the community, the religious community. Apostolic body is, in a larger sense, the church. You should also become day by day members of your own apostolic body, which is the religious community. And then you also become a member of the apostolic body, which is again the church where we will be sent to serve. Number 5, formation sensitizes the candidates to the realities of the world. Yes, you are not in a closed house. You are also taken outside. And second years, you have come back, second year novices, you have come back after a community experience, isn't it? Yeah, you were there at least for 3 months? Yes. So all this should have helped you also to see the world, to see not only your sisters in the community, also to understand what you are going to do in the future and how you can offer yourself to the society, to the people, to the needy people. And all this again to the values of diverse cultures. Even here, all of us are not from Tamil Nadu. All of us are not just from southern India. Even there are also candidates from North India, isn't it? Some of you have come from North India, no? Anybody from North India? Yeah, you are there. So the diverse cultures, you are introduced. How you to cope up with all these differences. And then to the work of worldwide evangelization. Who knows? In the future you will be sent as missionaries. You are also prepared now. Don't be afraid. Okay? Yeah. All this will take place. So, diverse cultures, and we are also introduced to the worldwide evangelization, and this prepares them to live their mission in an international congregation. You know for certain, this is not a diocesan congregation. This is not even a regional congregation or national congregation. It is an international congregation. So you are also prepared to take up any mission, anywhere in the world. Number 6, the role of the formators at different level is important. And now I am happy because here at this place where I am giving this talk, we have got the novitiate. And people who are in the novitiate have to be responsible people. And not only in the novitiate, whoever is in charge of formation, they have to be very important people, and they have to be also very responsible people. Hence, sisters under perpetual vows having the necessary human and spiritual qualities. This talk is not for the formators, but your rule of life says spiritual and also human qualities. And then only we can also form the formies in this, both the characters of spiritual and human qualities. They are chosen for this task and they are given the necessary formation. Definitely. No formator is coming, without any preparation. They are also prepared for formation. And when they come for this work, they should orient towards educating the formies both in human and spiritual qualities. Number 30, now in a larger way, we see one by one. The first one is about pre-novitiate. My dear sisters, all these are not new to you, but this may help you when you listen to this talk. It may help you what all stages you have already crossed or passed, and whether have I grown up, whether my spirituality has grown up, whether am I in a right track from pre-novitiate, from the novitiate, from my first vows, from the juniorate, from my final vows. Also, as I am today, am I growing gradually? Am I having the same spirituality which is pertinent to the congregation? Am I faithful to my vocation? All these are very important, and we can just read whatever is relevant for us. We will discuss about it. Whatever is, the responsibility of the superiors, we will just leave it. Number 1, point 30. The pre-novitiate is not the beginning of the novitiate. Very clear. Only in the name it said pre-novitiate. That is not the beginning of the novitiate. It is a time of experience which permits the candidate to deepen her life of faith, to grow in freedom, to answer the call of God with a certain maturity, to verify in herself the call to be a sister of the cross. Whether she has the thirst, whether she has that earning, that is important. So this period is pre-novitiate. We should not overload them with too many subjects. We should give them more time for their own personal recollection. Whether they are happy to be here, whether they like this way of life, whether they can accommodate themselves in this life. Pre-novitiate is just for a year, I suppose. 2 years. Novitiate for 2 years. Okay. Pre-novitiate for 2 years. These 2 years, definitely we can introduce some of the biblical or theological things, but what is very important, it's said here, to deepen your life of faith. To deepen your life of faith. Sometimes when they come for vocation promotion, out of curiosity they come. Even for pre-novitiate, they will come with the same curiosity. But day by day, their stay in the pre-novitiate should help them to deepen their faith, And also we see to grow in freedom to answer the call of God. There is no force. It is not because my mother likes that I become a sister. It is not my parents who sent me. No. Am I able to take up the responsibility for my vocation? That's what we read here. In freedom to answer the call of God and to verify in herself the call to be a sister of the cross. This enables the pre-novice and the congregation to come to know each other. Number 2, the duration of this period should not go beyond 2 years, except in some particular cases. No explanation is needed. Number 3, a sister is appointed to be responsible for the formation. Definitely somebody is there. Of the pre-novices in the province, she can be helped by one or more sisters. Number 4, it is the provincial who receives and sends away the pre-novices after taking into account the opinion of the mistress. My dear sisters, these are not very important for the recollection. Okay, we'll go to the next one, novitiate. Novitiate, number 1, it is a time of contemplation. You see, it is a time of contemplation. And that's why they always insist on 2 things. One is silence, another one is on prayer. That is novitiate. Novitiate. Of course, for us, I am a diocesan priest. I have gone to different novitiates, but I was never in a novitiate. That's why we say that our initiation, which we call as minor seminary, is another occasion, another opportunity for us to be in a novitiate like the novitiate. Definitely not a novitiate as such, but there we discern. And then what we do? More of prayer. As I said, the pre-novitiate should help us to cultivate our faith, also to come closer to Jesus. Here we see the first word, contemplation. Contemplation. It is not the time for action. Please know that. It is the time for contemplation. All my novices, don't be busy in actions. It is not time for action. It is a time for contemplation. Definitely, the life of a religious sister of the cross is contemplation in action. But now, novitiate is the time of contemplation. What is contemplation? Of fostering attachment to Jesus Christ and of conversion. Attach yourself to Jesus. Attach yourself to the teachings of Jesus. And your aim should be that I should become the disciple of Jesus. Attachment to Jesus. During this period, the novice makes sure of her call to follow Christ. You are not expected to follow your mistress. Following Christ. Following Christ. Don't follow anybody. Don't follow the recollection preacher. Don't follow any father who comes for mass. Don't follow anyone who comes for recollection there or hearing confessions. No, sister, don't follow. And I'm saying you are meant to follow Christ. Of course, you can see good things from the life of others, but we are called to follow Christ. As a member of an international congregation of apostolic life, she is initiated to live the charism of the sister of the cross and develop her capacity. You are just initiated. You don't start to live. You are initiated to live the charism of the congregation. To accept from God the gift of herself. To receive the plan of salvation. To review her life in faith. To collaborate with God's action in her, to submit her will to the will of God, recognized and accepted as such, to receive her mission and to be sent forth. See, finally sent forth. So you are not sent forth now. You are preparing yourself. You are preparing yourself. I'm definitely sure, at least for the second year sisters, all this should have been already told, isn't it? Yeah, you are well versed in it. I'm just revising of what has been taught to you already. And so the first point is contemplation. The last point is sent forth. Your whole stay at the novitiate is a time of contemplation. And I told you, my dear sisters, contemplation means attaching oneself to Jesus. Attaching oneself to Jesus. That is what contemplation. If the contemplation can go on, then finally, one day Jesus will send you out for the mission. And that is what the final point, sent forth. Novitiate, point number 2. The 2 years of novitiate consists of a rupture in relation to your former way of life. What is your former way of life? The life that you led in your house, in your school, or somebody in your college life, all that is over. Now you are initiated to your new life, which is a life of commitment, which is a life of consecration, which is a life of service to others. So there is a rupture. There is a rupture. You have to stop your old way of life and you have to begin your new way of living. Next point. A time of reflection and personal prayer, which I already said, contemplation. And then which makes the meeting with God in solitude and silence possible. Solitude and silence possible. An initiation to discover God in prayer as in action, a life of obedience, of poverty and of chastity. This time comprises also an apostolic community life with a human and spiritual training for living in a group, a deepening of biblical, theological and ecclesial knowledge, a formation into the liturgical life. Don't misunderstand me. This last 2 points also, that is not the criteria of being a novice. This also is needed. That's why it's offered. Deepening of your biblical knowledge, deepening of your theological knowledge, all is needed. But what is very important, docility to the Holy Spirit. I told you, your efforts to become a disciple of Christ, your spirituality, your growth in faith, whether you are able to understand what is obedience, what is poverty, what is chastity. And again, my dear novices, you should also learn to live in an apostolic community. That training also is given to you. You are all together. I still remember one day I asked you whether you have a dormitory system or you have already individual rooms. Individuals. Yeah. Okay, let us not discuss about it. I am telling you, more opportunities should be given to you to be together. To be together. Apostolic communities. I am very happy that you are all at one place for eating, isn't it? Not the separate places, no? Yeah. Whenever I have come there, I have seen you all together, happy. So this is also a time for you to train yourself to be a member of the community. Sometimes the sisters are happy here because you are all a peer group now, same age. But when you sent for 3 months to a community, there you see what is a community. What is a real community? My dear sisters, this is a pre-taste, foretaste. You might have learnt a lot, but all this should help you to commit yourself to a religious community, to an apostolic community when you are sent soon. Very good. Novitiate, number 3. The novices are gathered together in community with their novice mistress and are guided by her. The latter is perpetually professed and a member of the institute. That is true. She can obtain help from other sisters or competent persons in order to assure an all-round formation of the novices. Definitely. That's why novice mistress is not alone. There are also other sisters to help you. And also some of the guests are also received from outside to help you in whatever way possible. The novitiate house is erected, transferred or suppressed by the written decision of the Superior General with the consent of her council. Number 4. The duration of the novitiate is 2 years. For its validity, at least 12 months of this period must be spent in the novitiate house. The 12 months should preferably be continuous and during the first year. During this period, an absence from the novitiate house which goes beyond 3 months, whether continuously or not, makes the novitiate invalid. An absence of more than 15 days must be made good. Not for recollection. Number 5. The major superior directly responsible for the novitiate can permit a group of novices to spend a determined period of time in another house of the congregation with the novice mistress. This period cannot be considered as an absence from the novitiate. Yes, time to time you go for some training, for some ashram experience. Sometimes you go with your novice mistress. That's also included as the period of your novitiate. Number 6. The experience of the 30-day retreat is normally part of the novitiate. Have you finished? Not yet. It's yet to come? Only before final house. Okay. So number 6. Okay. 7. It is the provincial with the consent of our council who admits the pre-novices to the novitiate, taking into account the opinion of their mistress. 8. It is the provincial who eventually sends away a novice after taking into account the opinion of the mistress of novices. Yes. 32. First profession. At the end of the novitiate, the novice who desires to commit herself. You see, now we are coming to the beginning of our religious life. Very clear. Who desires to commit herself. That's why the first vows earlier was called as first commitment and final commitment. You might have heard about all these verses. First commitment, final commitment, first vows, perpetual vows we call now canonical terms. So first commitment. So who desires to commit herself addresses her written request to the provincial. If her request is accepted, the novice makes a public profession of temporary vows in view of a perpetual commitment. See, maybe you can be allowed to take the perpetual profession, but why? Even those years after first profession should help us and also should prepare you for the final yes to God. Number 2, it is the provincial of a delegate who receives the temporary or perpetual vows. If the Superior General is present, it is she who receives this profession. Number 3, it is the provincial who admits with the deliberative vote of her council to the first profession and to its renewal after having ascertained that the canonical conditions are fulfilled in conformity with Canon 656. The temporary vows are made for a period of 2 years, renewable twice. My dear sisters, some of the things I don't explain, you know why. You know that more than me. You know that what is here. And I'm also helping you for recollection. And that's why I'm not taking a class on rule of life. Okay. 32, first profession, number 5. By religious profession, members make a public vow to observe 3 evangelical counsels. Very important. Evangelical counsels. They are not merely vows, but they are evangelical counsels. Evangelical in the sense they are connected to Jesus. They are connected to the gospel. They are connected to the person of Jesus and to the words of Jesus. And even that is the way how Jesus formed his disciples. 3 evangelical councils. Through the ministry of the church, they are consecrated to God and are incorporated into the institute with the rights and duties defined by law. Number 6, I don't read, we will go to number 7. The first profession and the perpetual profession are celebrated according to the ritual of the church. 33, the juniorate. The duration of the period of temporary vows is normally 6 years. A prolongation is possible up to 9 years in exceptional cases and according to the judgment of the competent major superiors. The superior general can equally authorize a sister under temporary vows to make her perpetual profession before the end of the required 6 years. Number 2. During the time of the juniorate, the young professed continues the personal spiritual experience begun in the novitiate and grows in the love of Christ by a life of contemplation in action. Now you see, I told you novitiate should help you to come closer to Christ, and now by a life of contemplation in action, that is what you do at your juniorate. Learns to integrate her life with full responsibility and obedience. Yes. Places herself more effectively in the congregation in order to live her mission in an apostolic community according to the charism of the Sisters of the Cross. Then receives the confirmation of her call to be a sister of the cross. Tries to understand the church and its needs, the world of today and its evolution, and learns to situate herself as a religious in the milieu where she lives. So what is important here? At your juniorate, some of the sisters are still in your juniorate. You see, take these points for your personal reflection. The spiritual experience should continue, and then whatever you do, you try to integrate your life with full responsibility and obedience. And then also you are in an apostolic community and you know more about the church and its needs. And also you need to situate yourself as a religious in the milieu where you live. Number 3, the juniorate is still a time of initial formation. Very good. You are not left out. You are still in formation. That's why I told you. Everybody is in formation. There are also still stages to see that will tell us that the formation is never over in the life of a religious. Formation will never be over. You see, you are still in formation. Care will be taken that the young professed, each according to their possibilities, is given complementary biblical, theological, and ecclesiological knowledge necessary. A professional formation and openness to the human sciences and to the main contemporary questions, training for a life of interpersonal relationships, group life and teamwork can be so many means to the better accomplishment of the mission confided to each one. Number 4, the communities which welcome the young professed encourage them in the first apostolic experiences and help them to integrate themselves in the congregation. Now I have to tell you, when the new sisters after their first profession come, the senior sisters have to help them. You need to set an example of life, and you also should help them so that they may also have a liking for this religious life. Of course, I told you, The whole setup at the novitiate is different. And when they come to the religious communities, you should welcome cheerfully, and you should also, treat them gently, so that they may also be edified by you and learn whatever is necessary at the time of juniorate. A professional formation, we have seen that the communities which welcome the young prophets encourage them in their first apostolic experiences and help them to integrate themselves in the congregation. Now we go to 34, perpetual profession. Number 1. During the year preceding the perpetual vows, the young prophet who desires to commit herself definitely makes a request in writing to the Superior General. It is the Superior General, with the consent of our council, who admits the sisters to the perpetual profession on the recommendation of the Provincial Council after the necessary consultations. Yes. The criteria for admission are the following. You see, the first point, an attachment to Jesus Christ. From the beginning, I am insisting only on this. How a sister is qualified for the solemn profession? The first qualification is attachment to Jesus. Attachment to Jesus. Not attachment to other sisters. Attachment to Jesus, to the congregation and to its mission. And then you see the further qualifications. A sufficient human and spiritual maturity. I told you, internal growth, external growth, integrated formation. You see here, human maturity and spiritual maturity. An aptitude to live community life. Yes. An understanding of the apostolic religious life and the capacity to live its exigencies. Number 4, the validity of the perpetual profession requires that it be preceded by a period of temporary profession of at least 3 years. At least 3 years. Okay. The last point, ongoing formation. Number 35. Formation must be continued all through religious life. I told you, when you come to the last stage, you will understand that we are at the formation till the end of our religious life, or in my case, priestly life. It goes. We are still in formation. We are all formies till the end. Ongoing formation tells us formation must be continued all through religious life. Why? In order to assure a better apostolic presence and a better service. Formation for mission. That is the main title of this talk. Formation for mission. So why we need to be formation at all times? So that you may be a better servant of apostolic presence and also a better apostolic laborer for the service. Point 1. Each sister is responsible for her ongoing formation and has the duty to use all the means normally placed at her disposal. Each one is responsible for their own formation. So these days we say, even in the formation house, you are responsible for your formation. Not only after first vows, not only after ordination in our case, even in the formation we say, you are responsible for your formation. We see here in ongoing formation, it's clear. Number 1 says, each sister is responsible for her ongoing formation and has the duty to use all the means normally placed at her disposal. Number 2, the local community with its periods of sharing and research is a place of formation for each of its members. You see, first of all, we talked about that everyone is responsible for her own formation And second point, the community is responsible for the formation. We call the community as apostolic community. I think this point is very much helpful for our recollection this month. Our communities are called as apostolic communities. What does it mean? Apostolic community in the sense, in that community only the disciples are living. The disciples of Jesus are living in that community. That is an apostolic community. Apostolos. The apostles are living in that community. So yes, you are responsible, and then every community is responsible. So I have to help for the betterment of the community, for the smooth running of the community. And each one has a role. For that normal living, a healthy living of the community, each one has to contribute. It is not the superior. It is not the people in responsibilities. Each one. It is an apostolic community. Whether she is just a temporary professed sister or a sister in a retirement, doesn't make any difference. We are all apostles and we are all disciples. Only a healthy community and a happy community, only when our communities are really apostolic communities, it can help everyone for their ongoing formation. Very clear. Number 3, talks about the duty of the local superiors. The local superiors encourage the efforts of the sisters towards their formation and favor their being open to the calls of the church and the world. All those who are in a responsible position of the local superiors, please pay attention to this point. The sisters, in agreement with their superiors, seek for the means and find the time to pursue their human and professional, their spiritual and apostolic, doctrinal and biblical formation. All that goes with the understanding of the local superior and also the permission of the concerned officials. Number 4, the provincials have at heart to give a good formation to the local superiors in view of the animation of the communities. I'm sure all these are going on. Number 5, the sisters participate actively in the researches, reflections, and meetings organized in the provinces. Sometimes what happens? When the programs are organized, I don't come. Either I think I know everything, or I think I don't know anything. My dear sisters, wherever you are, whatever you are, when you are offered, formation like this, it is your duty to come. I don't want to talk about my priest back in the dioceses. There are also priests who don't come to regular meetings in the diocesan center. Recollection, some don't come. How we can demand from others that they should be accountable and they should be obedient when we are not. And from this recollection talk, I am encouraging all the sisters in the province, please come. Whenever opportunities are given, please come and learn. We need to learn. We need to know. And we need to educate ourselves. Don't think our education is already over. You may be in any position, but when you are called, you should have that humility to come and to learn. Very important. Number 5, the sisters participate actively in the researches, reflections, and meetings organized in the provinces. This is what I just explained. The apostolic vigor of the entire body and its progress depend, in fact, to a large extent on the collaboration at each of its members. Collaboration of each of its members. Everybody has to collaborate. It's a joint venture. Ongoing formation is not what is offered by the province. Ongoing formation is a personal responsibility and a collective responsibility. Personal responsibility, I should still have the desire to learn. I should always think, still I need to learn to be a better disciple, to be a better apostolic laborer. And collective responsibility, I'm entrusting that responsibility with the communities. And finally, we have seen it's possible on the collaboration of each of its members. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Thank you, sisters.
I thank the Lord.